In the world of tabletop games, miniature games kind of reign supreme. But the problem with most of these games is that all they're selling you is miniatures. And if you just have miniatures and you're playing, it could kind of look like this. And that's bad. So let's talk about terrain and what options you have, and honestly, which one's the best. In the world of terrain for your tabletop games, there's really only 3 ways for you to get terrain. And generally, people find one way that they like and just kind of stick to that. Unless they're a psychopath like myself and they try to do all 3 all the time. Okay, and those 3 ways are, of course, handmade, making stuff by hand. You make your buildings, your streets, your garbage cans, your dumpsters, your stables, whatever it is, you make it by hand with foam and, let's be honest, garbage and whatever else is at your disposal. Okay, number 2 is 3D printing, and I'm going to throw laser etching in there because they're both finding files, putting them into a computer, sending it to a machine, and then it makes it for you. Okay, and then the last option is buying it. You can buy plastic kits. You can go to Etsy and buy stuff that someone else has made, one of those first 2 ways, but you can literally just buy what you want. And there's even other options in there that we're going to talk about today because I got a great one that I kind of want to show off. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the one I know the most about, and that's 3D printing, because I have been 3D printing for years. And you can print just about anything that you want. You want cathedral walls? There's files for them. You want entire castles or dungeons that are as big as your table? They're out there. You can do it. The problem is they take a lot of time, like a lot of time. I mean, a standard house is going to take you like 6+ hours, right? And if you're doing a whole dungeon, I mean, you're talking about printing for weeks on end. And if you have no failures, that's great. There's going to be failures sometimes. That's just kind of how it works. But anyway, super time consuming. And at the end of the day, it's kind of expensive because printing takes a lot of filament. And if you're using resin, it's even way more expensive. So I'm not even going to talk about that. But if you're going to print a whole table, you're looking at 10, 15 rolls of filament at $20 to $30 a pop.
I'm rich, but I'm not Oprah rich.
Pricey. Now, is it as expensive as other stuff out there? No, heck no. I mean, ultimately, it's a relatively cheap way to get terrain. It's not the cheapest, but it's a relatively cheap way to get that. And there's a lot of cool things you can do because you can do like the interlock system where you're printing little 2x2 squares of terrain and you're interlocking them together. I actually have an entire spaceship made out of interlocking 3D printed stuff that you can take apart, and it has 4 levels inside. I've only printed one of the levels because honestly, this was like a month of work between actual work and printing this, and so I didn't want to keep going. And at the time, I wasn't even running a space campaign. It was going to be a one-shot that I wanted to do on Halloween and do like a terror on a spaceship kind of thing. And so one day I'll finish it. But there's a lot of stuff that you can do with 3D printing. It's amazing. It's awesome. I will never tell someone to not get into 3D printing because I think it's great. And the printers that are coming out now print faster with less failures, and they're just easier to use. They're definitely more expensive than when I got mine, but they're worth it. And they're better, and they do multiple colors and everything. So 3D printing is a great path to take if you want to get into doing this. And especially if you're just printing like one-off things like a single tree or a dumpster and stuff like that. 3D printing is fantastic and probably one of the quickest and easiest ways to get stuff on your table. The second way I want to talk about is handmade. And honestly, I did not have a ton of experience with handmade. I had made tiles and things like that were super easy, and I loved them, but they were just dungeon tiles. You know, it took 20 minutes to make a 10 by 10 square of dungeon tiles, you know? And so I thought it was really, really cool. But if you want to put terrain on a table for like a war game, you got to go bigger. You got to make houses and buildings and things like that. And I actually did my first house that I had made in a video a few weeks back that you can check out here. And it was really fun. It was really fun, and it was a great experience. But it helped kind of solidify in my brain that it is a time-consuming process. And if you're struggling to paint an army of miniatures, throwing on not only painting your terrain, but making your terrain, you're looking at hundreds of hours. Okay? Now, the benefit of making your own terrain is that you can literally make it with garbage. Stuff that you find. This is part of what's going to be my Necromunda board. You know, and cereal boxes and different things like that can be used to make really cool cardboard terrain. Or you can go out and buy foam, but foam is relatively expensive, and then you have to buy tools to cut it and everything else. So it's another avenue. The crazy thing that I've kind of learned about this whole process is that making terrain is literally another hobby that you are adding to the hobby you're playing in the first place. And there's only one exception to that. And that's, of course, the third thing we're going to talk about, which is buying terrain. Buying terrain is the easiest way to get it because you don't have to do anything except for pay for it. Okay? And
it's just money.
Granted, it's going to be the most expensive way, I think, to do this with some caveats. Okay, if you don't have a 3D printer and you just want to get terrain to play a game, buying it might be a cheaper option. Okay, if you don't have the foam and tools that you need to make your own stuff, buying it might be a better option. Because if you just need terrain for, you know, a war game and you just need a little bit of scatter piece and things like that, you can probably find what you're looking for under $100. Okay, but if you want to go all out and do dungeons and do all these other things, you're going to be spending a pretty penny to do so. And you can buy everything that I've mentioned. You can buy handmade stuff. You can buy 3D printed stuff. That's most of what's out there. GW and some other companies sell plastic kits that you can buy and put them together. And it's not that much work, but at the end of the day, you still generally have to paint it. Then there's the third option. A long time ago, I did a review on a game called Malifaux. And Malifaux came with miniatures, and it came with a dungeon, a little 2x2 dungeon, and walls that you could put up for that dungeon. And it was really cool, and I loved putting it together, and I thought it was amazing. And at that time, that was all I did with it. The fantastic people over at Battle Systems didn't just send me Malifaux, though. They sent me 2 other terrain packs that I honestly had only played with a tiny, tiny bit. Until this last week, because I got some Warmachine models that came from ancient ruins, and I thought, I think I have a battle system that's ancient ruins that I could put these things in and take some good pictures, and I was like, I'm going to build this thing. And it's freaking amazing. Okay, you know, for anywhere from $100 to $150 you can get these kits, and they come pre-painted. They look fantastic. Yes, they're cardboard, but you pull them out, they're pretty durable. You can put stuff on them. They are amazing, and they look amazing. And the best part is, I can take it apart and put it back together in 100 different ways. Like, they don't even send you a flat out, this is how you build it. Because the whole point is that you can build it any way you want. If you want 2 levels, you can do 2 levels. If you want 3 levels, you can do 3 levels. You know, if you want just a maze and different things like that, you can do that. And they are awesome, and they look great. And yes, this is going to be my backdrop for the miniatures that I'm going to start painting a month from now, whenever I get the time to start getting to them, because I'm working on other projects. So, is that the best option? It depends on what you want to do. Okay, granted, I'm not saying that they're super cheap, because they're not, and yes, they are made out of cardboard, but they look great on the table. Okay, 3D printed stuff will last you forever. They all have their ups, they all have their downs, and in the end, you got to decide which one you have the time to do, because that's probably the main difference, is the time. Because if you're making stuff by hand, it's going to take you much longer than 3D printing it, and way longer than just buying it and assembling it. And then You know, 3D printing is probably the middle option because you still got to paint whatever you print. And then you can just buy stuff that's done. So, at the end of the day, what option do you think is best? Do you like that feel of the handmade terrain that's on the table? Or do you like the durability and the accessibility of 3D printing, where you can not only make buildings, but you can make buildings that you can open up and get inside of, and it's not that much harder than just printing a house would be? Or do you go the third option and just buy your own pre-made terrain? Because let's face it, that's a lot easier. I'd love to know. Let me know down in the comments, and I'd like to hear what you think. If you've tried the battle system stuff out before, let me know. It's not all just fantasy. One of the other sets they sent me is a gothic, like a futuristic gothic cathedral that every time I look at it, I think the first time I played Necromunda, this is what I'm going to use, because it's going to take me a year to get my board done. So, let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, if you want to see more content like this, I do a lot of painting, I do reviews of tabletop games, I do reviews of terrain and other things that I build and put together. And if that interests you at all and you want to see that journey that I'm on come to a completion, please like, subscribe, stick around. We're putting videos out almost every week, and I love to hear what people have to say. I respond to every comment I get, and I'm really in the business of making your experience the best it can be. I cover a lot of games, and I've got even more stuff coming my way that I'm super excited for. So, come along for that journey. And as always, don't spend so much time building your world that you forget to spend some time in it. Until next time.